So the United States is pulling troops from a really critical NATO position right there on the Black Sea. Now, is this a smart, strategic power shift like the Pentagon is telling us? Or is it a seriously risky retreat that just emboldens America's rivals, which is what critics in Washington are screaming? Let's break down what's actually going on here.
And this, right here, is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is the U.S. actually taking a step back from its commitments in Europe, or is this a much more calculated move in a bigger global chess game? To figure that out, we've got to separate the hard facts from all the political spin.
Okay, so let's start with what we know for sure. This announcement kind of came out of nowhere. It really caught a lot of people in both Washington and Brussels by surprise. And as we're about to see, the specific details are what make this move so incredibly significant. So the main headline is this. The Pentagon is pulling part of its military force out of Romania. And you have to understand, this isn't just any random place. It's a crucial spot on NATO's eastern flank, putting it right on the front line with Russia. Let's dig into the details a bit more. The unit that's leaving is the 2nd Infantry Brigade of the legendary 101 Airborne Division. They've been stationed at a key air base right near the Black Sea. But look at that last point on the slide. That's the real bombshell here. This isn't just a simple rotation of forces. When this brigade leaves, nobody is coming to replace them. That's a net loss of combat power on the ground, period. So what's the official story from the people making the decision? Well, the Pentagon is pushing a very, very specific narrative. They're insisting this isn't a retreat at all, but a strategic recalibration. The official term you're going to hear thrown around is global force reassessment. As you can see, they're calling it a deliberate process to reevaluate where America's military is stationed all around the world. In other words, they're looking at the entire global chessboard and deciding to move some of their pieces around. So, what are these new priorities they're talking about? Well, the official line has a couple of key parts. First, there's a bigger focus on homeland defense and also on Latin America. And second, and this is a really crucial part of their argument, they're spinning this as a vote of confidence, basically saying that our European allies are now strong enough to handle more of the burden themselves. And here you have it, the official message in black and white. The U.S. Army is being very clear. This is not a withdrawal from Europe, and it does not mean they're less committed to NATO. This is pure narrative management, aimed squarely at keeping nervous allies from panicking. But that very carefully crafted message is not working on everyone, not by a long shot. Back in Washington, the reaction has been swift, and it has been sharp. This slide really lays out the two competing realities perfectly. On the left, you've got the Pentagon's view. European allies are stronger, so the U.S. can smartly reshuffle its forces around the globe. But then, on the right, you have the view from Congress. This sends a dangerously weak signal to Russia, and it's happening at the absolute worst possible time. And this criticism isn't just some background chatter. It is coming from the very top. We're talking about the chairman of the super powerful armed services committees in both the Senate and the House. Their argument is really twofold. Not only is the decision itself a bad one, but they're also claiming the Pentagon did it without even consulting them, which is raising major alarms about European security. So we've heard the Pentagon's story, and we've heard the fierce pushback from Washington. But what about the alliance at the very center of all of this? Well, from NATO headquarters in Brussels, the perspective is, let's say, a lot more cautious and complex. First, let's get some important context. As you can see, the U.S. isn't pulling out of Romania completely. About 1,000 American troops are going to stay put. So no, this is not about abandoning the country, but it is a major reduction of frontline combat power in one of NATO's most strategic locations. And this chart is what NATO officials would absolutely point to. Take a look at the two bars. While this drawdown in Romania is happening, the total number of U.S. troops across all of Europe is actually higher today than it was before Russia's 2022 invasion. So the bigger picture is complicated, right? One specific presence is shrinking, but the overall commitment has actually grown. Still, the official line from the alliance is that they are watching closely. Because, the real fear isn't just about this one withdrawal, it's about the precedent it might set. If this is just the beginning of a larger trend, then the entire defensive posture of Europe might have to be completely redrawn. So, after weighing the official story against the political backlash and the view from NATO, we circle right back to that central question. What is this really? So, which one is it? A smart recalibration, trusting that European allies are strong enough to hold the line themselves? Or a risky gamble that signals a wavering commitment at the very moment that adversaries are watching more closely than ever? The Pentagon has placed its bet.
The rest of Europe and the world is just waiting to see the outcome.